The St. Louis Fed has something called the Uncertainty of Economic Policy Index. It is currently at 900, or about 900. To put that in perspective, it's normally under 300 and was under 300 just a couple of months ago. When COVID happened and when the housing or when the financial crisis happened in 2008, it was still around 600. So we're 50% higher than it was under these two watershed events because Trump